Welcome to the station wagon. I'm the older brother, Mark.
And I'm little sister Julie. This is the podcast where my brother and I give up something we take for granted and tell you how it goes.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride. So, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about humor. We're going to give some history. I'm going to talk about the science of it, when it's good and when it's bad. We're going to give it up and then talk about what happens. So, Mark,
Yes.
you want to do that quiz thing that you do?
I do. So, Julie, here's how it goes down. There's 3 questions, and each one of them are
Okay.
multiple choice.
And I'm going to get them all right this time.
Well, I hope so, but please wait until I give you all of the options before you
I will
try to
try.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay, good. On average, how frequently do babies laugh per day? 15 times, 35 times, 150 times, or 300 times?
15.
Really? God, you're so stupid. It's 300.
What? No
You've had 2
way.
babies.
I have had 2 babies.
Yes.
Well, my babies laughed a lot, but I'm hilarious. So I just kind of thought it was my shtick.
Well, it could be, or your face. On average, how frequently do people over 35 laugh per day? 15, 35, 150, or 300?
35. Was that one of the options? What
Yeah.
would be
B was
Yeah.
35.
35?
15.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's really, really sad.
Man.
It's really sad. And then number 3, and I just want to remind you, you've missed both questions so far.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Number 3, laughter is fill in the blank.
The best medicine.
There's 3 choices. Laughter is
Okay.
A, disarming, B, obnoxious, or C, hateful.
A.
Very good.
Well,
Disarming.
You got all of the above.
I guess it could be. Sure. You could get partial credit for that too. Yes, laughter is disarming. Poke fun at the stuff everyone's worried about.
Okay, I will.
Oh, that was a quote from somebody who I don't actually have listed who it's from. But can I just give you an example of how laughter is disarming?
Sure.
Okay, so recently at work, I had to do a presentation with our CEO.
Okay. Whoa.
And it was actually...
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la is right. And it was actually more of an activity where we all read through a document together. And then...
Oh, that sounds horrible.
No, it's actually all right. And then we all go through and answer questions that the folks in the room have. Anyway, our CEO got done last reading this document. And he looked up and he said, "Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. Am I the last one to finish reading?" And I, of course, said, "Yeah, and you don't get any gold star for being last. Sorry."
So, did that go over well, or was
It went over really well because I think it was a very tense room. And we'll talk more about that, right? But
Yeah.
this idea that laughter, when used well, because I always use it well, is extremely disarming and helps take away the tension. So,
Well,
Julie, you did...
Do you want to hear what that's called scientifically?
Yeah, when we get there. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh!
No, okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Tell me.
spoiler. So that's called the relief theory of humor, which is that humor does exactly that. It like puts a pin in the balloon of tension.
That's not a thing.
Okay, I know I couldn't come up with a good metaphor right in the
No,
moment.
actually, that's pretty good. Like you have the tension of the balloon skin.
Right, yeah. Okay, I need a better
Could it put a pin in the pimple of tension?
No.
In the whitehead of tension?
Yeah, it could.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So I thought that was... So, Julie, you got... I get it from you, Julie. So you got 1 out of 3 correct. So
All right. Well,
Not your
the
best
worst
work.
I've done.
no, not the worst you've ever done. So, Julie, that was the quiz. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy that cultural perspective. Are you going to tell us all about the history that you so carefully researched?
I would love to.
Okay.
And I do research every one of these things carefully and with lots of love.
Excellent.
Right.
I
So,
want to ask you more about that another time.
okay, sounds good. So the first thing is from the biblical time period, and you can make up whatever time period you want that to mean. But generally, when
Yeah, I guess it depends whose Bible.
right. So what I'm talking about is the Jewish Bible, the Torah.
Okay.
And Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22, a happy heart enhances one's brilliance and a broken spirit dries the bones. It's often pointed to as one of the first times that laughter and being joyous and using humor is actually helpful from a psychological point of view.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I get that.
What you'll hear now is Janine Rosenbaum pronouncing the Hebrew version of that proverb.
Oh, cool.
Lev sameach yetiv ge'ah veruach neche'ah teyabesh garem.
1964, Dr. William F. Fry, he's a professor or was a professor at Stanford University, was the first scientist to suggest that laughter was a suitable field of study and the first to apply for public funding.
That's neat.
Yeah, what surprised me about that, Julie, was how recent that was. I mean, granted, we both were not born at that point, but so it's not recent in that time sense, but still, I would have thought that people would be interested in laughter and serious research before then because,
I totally agree. One of the points I wanted to make today is that this is something free that we can be doing. And since there are benefits to it, it doesn't cost any money to laugh. When we're looking at efficiently improving our healthcare system, hey, here's something we got. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So in 1976, the book Anatomy of an Illness was published. And in it, it was the first one which talked about using humor to boost a patient's body's capacity for healing.
Oh, cool. All right. Thanks. I don't know why I said thanks.
All right. So 1983, Jerry Schwartz posted on Usenet. And I don't know if you remember what Usenet is. It's one of the precursors to the internet, or it used the internet for basically online forums.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the first people to tell folks to clearly mark humor in their writing online.
Instead of so that people would recognize what's sarcastic or what's dry. I mean, in what way?
Right. So avoid sarcasm and facetious remarks. And I'm going to read you this quote.
Okay.
Without the voice inflection and body language of personal communication, these are easily misinterpreted. A sideways smile, i.e. an emoticon. Now imagine we had those back in 1983. I don't remember ever using them back then.
Nope.
Has become widely accepted on the net as an indication that I'm only kidding. If you submit a satiric item without this symbol, no matter how obvious the satire is to you, do not be surprised if people take it seriously. Julie, have you ever heard of Poe's Law?
No.
Or Poe's Rule? It basically says that something similar.
Well, yeah, so I guess there had to be a few years of a lot of confusion before people said, okay, everyone, seriously.
Right.
We can't tell when you're joking.
We can't tell.
Media.
We can't tell. And, have you ever been in that situation in real life where people can't tell that you're joking?
Yes, it is yucky.
It's yucky? You're a grown-up,
That's what they tell me.
Oh, okay. In 1995, there was a lawsuit between Durnovich and the city of Great Falls, Montana, and the Human Rights Commission there.
Okay.
Okay. And the Human Rights Commission found in favor of the complainant, and I think that would, I don't know who that would be, who was, I don't know if that's Durnovich or the city of Great Falls, whatever. We'll have to ask Jaceface about that, I suppose.
You mean Olaf?
Olaf, yes. But anyway, this person won their case, and they were only indirectly offended by some jokes at the workplace. In other words, the jokes, the humor was not directed at her. It was directed at someone else. She was around, heard it, was offended, and won this case.
Oh, so that sets the precedent for all the trainings we all get at work now, where it's look, even if the person you're talking to knows it's just a joke, that doesn't matter. You're still creating a hostile environment for everyone around you. And
it's not just that it's just a joke, Julie. It's that it doesn't have to be offended. You don't have to be the recipient.
Right.
So that's really interesting. So I put that in here as part of the history that humor needs to be treated very carefully.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Also, 1995, laughter yoga started up, and it sounds like you're going to be talking to us more about that later.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you ever tried it?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, I have. There's a free laughter yoga teleconference that happens every day. What? And you just call into this number, and it happens a few times a day. Mm-hmm. You call in and you just laugh with the person who's leading it, and they just laugh and you just laugh, and you stay on the line for free as long as you'd like, just laughing and laughing. And there's lots of other ways to do it too. That's just the only way I've ever done it. A lot of people do it in person. Yep.
Will you give us the phone number or put that in the show notes?
Yeah. I'll look
Okay.
it up.
All right. That's really different than when we were kids and you could call a phone number to hear the time.
Yeah, or hear a folktale.
I remember that one. In 2017, this is my favorite one. In 2017, there were 600, I just looked this up yesterday, 624 jobs in Seattle with the key phrase sense of humor in the job description. And
Whoa.
here's 3 examples. Ready?
As in, don't have one?
No, as in have a sense of humor.
Okay.
Number 1, I have 3 examples. Number 1, cafe and cheese counter associate at Beecher's Pike Place.
Mm.
You ever been there? I've never been there. Is it good?
No, but Beecher's cheese is amazing.
Oh, it is? I've never had it.
Yeah.
All right, you'll have to give me some.
They have it at Costco. Get your own cheese.
But Costco's filled with humanity.
Oh, I forgot. Okay.
Right. Number 2, developer content manager at Alexa Skills, part of Amazon.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of sense of humor they have to have there, though. That's pretty interesting.
That you can say, Alexa, tell me a joke.
Oh, yeah. So maybe they're teaching Alexa how to tell jokes,
Maybe.
like the giant orange head joke.
Right, exactly.
And number 3, senior program officer, malaria vaccines with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, again, I think it's pretty awesome that they have a sense of humor in that job description. But I would think that the priority is like being really serious and focused. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it has
I don't know what
nothing...
the job is all about.
I think for all 3 of those, I'm guessing it has nothing to do with the actual content of the work. It's more about it's more pleasant to be on a team with someone who can laugh.
Yeah, maybe. But I bet the cafe and cheese counter associate Beecher's Pike Place Market, it is all about the content because Monty Python cheese sketch.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Proof. I'll accept that as logic.
Good. Thank you. You know, I don't really care if you accept it or not, right?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, good.
Now, I can't. I can't get another co-host for this. I don't have any other siblings. Oh, wait, yeah, I do.
Oh, wait a second.
You can be replaced.
You know, you also have nieces and nephews who are probably dying for my position.
And a sister-in-law.
And a sister-in-law, right. Julie, that is history. That's everything you ever need to know about humor.
Okay. I'm guessing there's quite a bit more than that, but we'll accept that for now. Let's talk about the science, though. But before I get into it, what is your humor style? Is it just sarcasm, or is it other stuff too?
My humor style is my humor style is full of awesomeness.
Oh, okay. I mean,
that's how I would define it.
Okay, so you gave us an example earlier of at the end of a tense meeting or in the middle of a tense meeting, you made like a deprecating joke, like haha, to your CEO.
Yes, that's always good. Risky. I would say I'm a risk taker.
Yeah, yeah. So
also,
the research would say that you doing that means you have high self-esteem.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that kind of joke, individuals with high self-esteem are much more likely to do.
Tell me about this kind of joke. Here's another example. I actually copied this out of chat back and forth with a coworker of mine named Jessica.
Okay.
Who's pretty awesome, and we should have her on the podcast in some way in the future.
Noted.
But here's how it goes. Sorry, yes, it has been confirmed Tuesday, February 14th, 1 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. is what I wrote. She says, sweet, so you'll probably get 13 minutes. We're trying to schedule an appointment with an important person.
Understood.
And I wrote, a boy can dream. And she wrote, don't be funny, Mark.
What? Was she saying? Okay, got it. All right. So
that's just how my humor rolls, Julie. How would you describe that? Awesome.
Okay. No, that's called self-enhancing.
Okay.
So here's the 4. Okay, there's plenty of different ways to slice and dice the kinds of humor that there is. But here's one of the most common ways of looking at it is that there's 4 kinds of humor. There's 2 of these are good and 2 of these are bad. And of course, that's very black and white. They're not all good and all bad. But just for the sake of today's discussion, I'm going to veil in some of that way. Okay, so on the good side, there's affiliative humor and self-enhancing humor. So affiliative humor is when you're just palling around with somebody, you make a funny comment that just it's not against anybody, could be against the funny situation you're in, but it's just banter, the kind of thing that just builds up rapport with somebody. It's a sign of a really healthy relationship, and it tends to strengthen relationship.
Cool.
This is good stuff. And then self-enhancing humor, it's not real. It's different from self-deprecating. It's more like a boy can dream, right? Like you're saying, okay, well, maybe this won't happen, but I'm just going to put it out there. And you called yourself a boy, and, and that's a little self-deprecating, right? You're minimizing yourself, but it's still funny. And that's also a positive kind of humor. And then on the other side is aggressive humor, which is what it sounds like. Someone falls down and you laugh at them, or you make fun of somebody. And then self-defeating humor is kind of like, oh gosh, what's that famous film guy? It's not Woody Allen. No, it is Woody.
Guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Woody Allen.
Right. I just don't know what a film guy is.
Yeah, Woody Allen. You know, that film guy.
Right. He's self-deprecating or self-defeating is like one step beyond self-deprecating, would you say?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. An example of that could be, yeah, you think this smells bad? Come sniff my armpit. Or I don't know.
That was terrible.
I know, because I'm not very good at it, right?
Okay.
Because I'm more of the affiliative and self-enhancing. Although I do use like some self-deprecating humor sometimes, and it can fall into that pretty easily. So you gotta watch it. So okay, when do you use the humor most in the workplace? I want to focus on the workplace since I think that's what most people can relate to us.
Yeah. So when do I use humor the most?
Yeah. Is it like in meetings, or is it in email, or is it just in every conversation?
I very rarely put it in email. It's just because of the reasons that I mentioned in the history section, that it's so hard to determine what your meaning is in email already.
That's surprisingly smart of you.
Thank you. And I learned early on in my career that it's just impossible, even with putting in emoticons and things, and even saying just kidding or whatever, putting humor in email is just fraught with difficulty. So yeah, I mean, it's mostly in meetings, and I think it's just because I can't control myself. One time in a meeting, we were all sitting around and our manager came in the room, and I said, "Good afternoon, Gov." No, what did I say? Something like that. Except with a much better Cockney accent at the time. I can't do it right now.
Of course. I'm sure you did it great. It was on point.
Right. So I'm not making fun of him, not like self-deprecating. I'm just doing something. I think it's because I really like absurdist sense of humor. Yeah.
Okay. So.
So your specific question was when on meetings, in person, talking to people, hardly ever in email, probably chat. Yeah. Use chat.
And it sounds like it's a little impulsive for you.
It is. I do have impulse control around this, and I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, ditto. I want to see, first of all, how impulsive it is, like how much control we actually have over it, and two, what kind of humor we find ourselves using. So if you can think about that when we do give it up. Okay, so here's the three main reasons that research says we use humor. There's tons more than this, but the big three: one, the relief theory I talked about, where just you're in a tense situation and you make a joke to break the tension. Like if you're in an elevator crowded with people and one more person wants to get on, and then you make a silly wisecrack, just to make everyone laugh a little bit.
What would be a wisecrack that you would make in that situation, Julie?
Nobody fart.
Really?
No, I wouldn't ever say that in front of strangers. If it was a bunch of my friends, maybe, or family. Okay, the next one is superiority theory, which is just we make jokes to make ourselves feel better than everybody else, which is not very nice. And then the final one is incongruous juxtaposition theory, which means just putting two things that are amusing next to each other. It's just dime words for nickel meaning. Is that the right metaphor? Anyway, all it means is like your typical joke. So here's one my daughter told the other night. Do you want to hear a joke about a cliff?
Sure.
Never mind. It's too edgy.
Ha ha.
Right. So it's a pun. It's putting those things next to each other.
Wait, would this joke be incongruous juxtaposition theory? Also, how many camels does it take to cross the desert?
How many?
2.
Yeah, actually it would, because the incongruity that makes that joke kind of funny, I guess, is that, okay, there was actually an answer there wasn't a punchline, so ha ha ha. And so, well done, Marky.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
So I want to see which of these theories fit my sense of humor. I'm guessing it's going to be mostly relief theory. We'll see how it goes. Humor has benefits and deficits. It does seem to reduce stress, and in groups, it can increase bonding. There's been a lot of research of individuals like going through chemotherapy and really horrible things that it helps increase communication about those difficult topics. Like the ability to use humor in a conversation about chemotherapy makes it easier to talk about chemotherapy at all, which makes sense when you say it that way. Although I think a lot of people who've never experienced cancer in their friends and loved ones would probably be really hesitant about taking that risk. And you were absolutely right before when you put it as a risk. Also, it really helps the significant others to cope with yucky events that are going on. I'm just going to keep using the word yucky because
yeah. Well, yeah, that's good. If listeners, if you can think of another word for Julie to use instead of yucky, please let us know.
So that's just humor in general. There's a lot of nice research to back it up. Now, laughter yoga. Let's get back to this. This is, the word yoga here, I'm sure yoga practitioners would probably have a problem with it. What it is this practice of just deliberately laughing. Whether or not there's anything funny happening in the moment, you just deliberately start laughing. The pilot studies and the feasibility studies all look really good, actually. There's lots of support for it. The practitioners seem to like it. Patients with Parkinson's, with cancer, pregnant people.
Is it fair to say pregnant women?
I think that's fair to say. They all seem to like it, but been no randomized control trial to say, yes, this is something we need to make part of treatment as usual for depression or stress reduction. But it's still one of those things that I think if I had a patient who was interested in it, I certainly wouldn't say, oh, no, avoid that. There's been no study of it. If it's something that has a placebo effect or just makes them feel good, great. And there's possibly some actual real health benefits to it, too. It can also help in the workplace and in education. So if you have like a playful culture, it increases persistence behavior, which means those annoying work tasks like TPS reports. If you work in a place where people are allowed to goof off now and then and make silly jokes or hang up funny posters and I don't know what, playfulness, then that helps increase, okay, I'm going to keep doing my persistence reports or my TPS reports.
Right.
So the self-enhancing humor, that kind that's like a little self-deprecating, but not like to the point of Woody Allen, it helps the psychological well-being and job performance of your subordinates. So I'm not talking about the people making the jokes, but the people under them. If their supervisor's able to be a little silly and kind of making fun of the situation, making fun of themselves just a little, it does help, but only if there's already trust there. So this is different from like Michael in The Office, who would make jokes quite a bit. And some of them, he probably was trying self-enhancing humor, but since he didn't have trust of his employees, it doesn't have the same effect. But this is really difficult in healthcare, using humor appropriately. And this is what we were talking about before. I wish we could use it more often because, again, it's another free asset we've got in our healthcare teams. And if we could leverage this to improve health outcomes, that would be awesome. So patients, when you survey them, they want humor, especially when they're dealing with something like chemo and those topics that we talked about before that are so difficult. They want their healthcare team and especially their nurses to be able to joke around with them because they're in pain, they're scared. It's a horrible experience, especially being hospitalized. And so they want to have that humor. But our providers are very hesitant to be humorous. If a patient makes a joke, they want their provider to reciprocate and tell a joke back, or even just banter. But we are so careful in healthcare because of risk. It's a little tricky there. And it could be an area for further research. And I think people could probably test a pretty good intervention. Just like humor can have some problems in the healthcare setting, it also does in the work setting. Of course, obviously you don't want to make jokes that are offensive to any group, but even just aggressive humor at all can be really detrimental. It does reduce psychological well-being if someone is laughing at somebody else or making a joke at someone else's expense. Doesn't matter if they're friends. Like we talked about before, if someone else is just in the environment hearing that joke, even if it's not offensive, it's still going to reduce their psychological well-being potentially. It's really counter to the idea of if I tease you, it means I like you. And I think, that's kind of like a kindergarten school ground thing, but I've also heard that as an adult of, if I'm making fun of you, it just means that you're one of the gang. And I think I get along with people very well who use humor in that way because our family jokes around so much. And so I think probably for you and me, we could cope with that. And I can give it as well as I take it. If someone starts teasing me, I'm able to give it right back from years and years of practice of being the youngest child. But not everyone's in the same boat as us. I think the bottom line is humor is not one size fits all. You can't go into the workplace thinking, I've got a real unique sense of humor and it's just going to take my coworkers some time to learn it. And once they know me, they'll know I'm just joking. No, it doesn't work that way.
Absolutely.
But I also get that it would be really boring to not joke around. So I'm not saying completely get rid of humor, but think about it and be careful about it. And that's what we're going to do for 2 weeks.
It's going to be really, really hard.
What's going to be hard about it for you?
Like we were talking about before, just how it doesn't seem like I have the the control to actually stop using humor. I mean, we gave up sarcasm, but that was so specific. I was still able to be funny, but just not sarcastic. So this is actually putting more of a cap on the umbrella concept.
I'm concerned about just the impulsive humor. I don't know how impulsive it is for me, and I'm just going to try to hold back there. Okay. So that's going to be the hard thing. I'm definitely going to be doing this at work. At home, I think I'll try, but my family, we laugh a lot together. Oh, I forgot one of the cool pieces of research. Can I go back to science for 1 minute?
Go ahead.
Okay, so thinking about an event that made you laugh is more powerful for your satisfaction with your relationship than thinking about a happy event. So, for example, if you and Kendra sit down and talk about the birth of your children, that's going to make you feel good. And that will improve your relationship a little bit for the day, But if you think about the times that they pooped and you didn't have diapers and you had to clean it up and it was horrible, but then it turned into a funny thing, ha ha ha, that is going to improve your relationship satisfaction even more. So those shared moments of laughing in the moment are valuable, but then just revisiting them over and over across time is really valuable too. So when you have something that happens that makes your family laugh, write it down or post something on Facebook so that you get that reminder and then talk about it now and then.
That's
with
a great idea. Really good idea.
Thank you. I do that with my kids. I write their silly quotes. And
yes, we know you write your silly quotes. Yes.
And my kids love hearing those. And they will say them to each other like a year later after we've read them in our annual book I put out for my family. And it just makes them crack up and they don't hate each other as much.
Okay, now hold on a second. So you're saying that you share with the world these silly quotes, and then because that's not enough, you put them into a book to remind your family of them on a yearly basis?
My children are just that cute. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so we're going to give up being deliberately funny using humor for 2 weeks.
Yep.
For the next few seconds, you're going to hear the pleasure kills. Then you'll hear from some special guests about their use of humor. When we come back, we'll hear what happens to us and if we survived.
Did you have some thoughts on my current thing?
Why do you have 91 funny things already?
Well, it's been a week.
91 in a week.
Yeah.
Really, Dad?
Is that a lot or too little?
A lot. That's a lot.
I can't help myself. Can you help yourself?
A little.
Really? Do you think you could go a whole day without saying anything funny?
No. I'd say like 2 things funny.
Just
you say like 10 things funny in a day.
Yeah. Or at least I think they're funny.
So, Julie, hi.
How did it go?
Oh, I hated this. I didn't hate this as much as
every time.
I know. Because the things that we do are awful.
Yeah.
This I did not hate as much as I hated giving up my cell phone.
Okay.
But this made me feel like a part of me was missing,
Whoa,
like a
that's
small part
big.
of my soul. Right. So I would be sitting there and I had a counter on my phone. So every time I said something that I thought was humorous or intended to make somebody laugh, or somebody laughed when I didn't intend to make them laugh,
Yeah.
I marked it down on my phone. So over the course of a week, I got up to 116 things.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just crazy because I was really trying not to say things that were humorous and I couldn't help myself.
Oh no.
And so the joke around the family and at work was, yeah, that wasn't really funny anyway. So don't mark it down. But that's not the point, is it?
No, you were still trying to be funny.
Right. I was still trying to be funny. Or those times when I wasn't trying to be funny and I were very frustrating. So I did not like this. I did not like having to really I felt like I had like flat affect.
Well, was there anything good that happened as a result of this at all?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the things that was something that I also got from the sarcasm episode was just this notion that I felt like maybe I was more approachable.
Oh.
I was very forthright with my answers, and I'm usually very forthright with answers. I don't usually make people jump through hoops or my jokes to get to answers like some people that I know.
Okay.
Not you. No,
Oh, okay.
no, not you. No, I literally have had managers and coworkers and people in my life who, to get an answer from them, you have to make it through their dumb jokes first.
Oh yeah, like, can I have that? Nope, you can't. No,
Right.
but really, can I have that? Nope. Okay, look, my kid's bus is going to be here any minute. Can you please just hand that to me now?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Stupid stuff like
I've
that.
never experienced that. No, I'm just kidding.
So, I don't know if I actually was more approachable. I just felt like I was being more approachable, and not approachable. That's not quite the right word. Just more efficient,
Yeah. Oh, well, I bet it was more efficient.
and robot-like and flat affect.
So being an automaton helped you do the work,
Yes.
but didn't make it as fun.
No, that's absolutely right. It did not make it as fun. It didn't make it as fun for me. And, people around me were trying to make me say things that were funny. I can't remember any examples right now, darn it. But, yeah, I mean, it was fun for them to a certain degree, but but people were like, you seem kind of sullen.
Oh, wow. Do you have resting bitch face?
No, I have resting angry
Doofus
face.
Oh, resting
yeah,
angry face.
yes.
Okay, so what was like the most common kind of humor that you felt yourself trying to do? I mean, like holding back from.
I think that incongruity
Okay.
and sarcasm,
That's too negative. Oh, no, incongruity wasn't negative. Okay.
right. And
yeah.
sarcasm isn't necessarily a negative,
No,
Julie.
it's not.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, it's very positive.
So what about you?
I wasn't as impulsive as I thought I was going to be. There was like one time when I yelled "jinx," that was impulsive, but
And not
but
funny.
also not funny, right? Yeah, exactly. It was mostly successful. Like a couple good things happened. Like at one point, one of my coworkers shared an example of his kid doing a disgusting thing. I don't remember what it was now. And I have so many anecdotes of my kids doing disgusting things. And normally I'd be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And then sharing those funny anecdotes as affiliative humor. But I didn't. I just focused on my coworker, and that was probably good. I probably tell too many funny anecdotes. And we've talked before about how since we're both somewhat leaders in our organizations, it's hard to tell when someone's laughing.
Mhm.
Are they doing it because we're actually being funny or because they're like, ha, 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 you're my supervisor. Ha, ha, ha.
Right.
I did a few presentations. I didn't do any like big, long, like 2-hour long presentations. When I do those, I always use humor because my subject area could be a little dry, I guess, and I like to keep the audience engaged. But I did a few short presentations and did all of them just super serious. And I think that went really well. I was a little nervous about that. I like using humor because frankly, I just want people to like me. And that's something I'm also trying to get over. We should do a whole episode about that. But, being the people pleaser and just making people laugh and enjoy themselves for a few minutes. Like, I get it during a 2-hour lecture, but for a 5-minute presentation, I don't need to include laughs. That's okay. So I was pleased that I was able to do that. No one came up to me afterwards and said, that was boring. It was okay. It was a 5-minute thing. I also didn't banter before meetings. And so that was hard. I'd have a lot of meetings, and sometimes there's like 5 minutes where you're waiting for the teleconference and VTC to set up. And usually the people who I'm friends with at work will just joke around or talk about whatever. And I listened to them and nodded and laughed when they made jokes, but I didn't contribute anything to that. And no one said, oh, you seem sullen. But certainly I think people can usually expect that I'm going to be one of the big jokesters. The harder things were with my kids. I definitely, like, after a day was like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to make them laugh. Like, they would come up to me and say, Mommy, make us laugh. Because I wasn't being as silly as normal. And also just, I make silly faces all the time. I'm really emotive, and I like to make, like, sometimes Olaf, my husband, will say something ridiculous just to get my goat, and the kids look at me and they want to see me making an angry face at him, and they think that's hilarious, and it's our shtick. So, I had to keep doing that. The time I wanted to use it most was just that relief theory stuff we talked about, just to break the tension. I was in a couple of really tense meetings, and normally I probably would have used humor to break the tension. And I'm really glad I didn't in retrospect. It might have made the meetings a little bit happier, I guess.
Oh, God.
But at the same time, it's like when you're dealing with a very serious topic, using humor could indicate I'm not taking this very seriously. So in both those situations, I tried to use humor to close out the meetings, but I didn't use it during. And I think that was the right choice. And I'm going to try to keep doing that more. And then there were a couple times when I did use it during other meetings when things were getting tense, and it went over fine. Overall, I was pleasantly surprised, and I think I'm going to keep trying this one. Not completely cutting out humor, but just when I'm dealing with somebody's very serious issue that they're bringing to me, that's not a time that I need to be telling a joke.
Well, that's so funny that you would say that. You would think that just being a grown-up and having lived life, you would know that that's not a time to tell a joke.
I guess being an adult, I should know that better. And now I do. So
and now you too. Thank you, podcast.
I would recommend people try this. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally try it and see what kind of reactions you get from folks around you. But don't do it so much that it kills part of your soul.
Okay, yes. Build insight. Don't kill your soul.
I think it's a good message for most things in life, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the name of our book.
Eat as many M&Ms as you like without killing your soul.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good rule of thumb.
It can really be applied to anything. Can you think of something it can be applied to?
No, but here's another rule of thumb. You can go to wagonpod.com, our website, where you can listen to other episodes, view our show notes, and subscribe. Oh, and on iTunes, you can subscribe there and leave us reviews like Thumet69 or
What?
No, it's not Thumet. I'm so sorry. The Mets.
Oh, there you go.
69 said.
Oh my God.
The whole concept and way the show is presented is different, and that's a good thing. I like the brother-sister combo. Keep up the great work. Finally, something different. Well, thank you, the Mets, or the Mets, however you like to pronounce it. You can also connect with us on Facebook and Twitter at WagonPod. I also want to give a shout out to another great podcast, Avoid Being Hated, by our friends Liz and Tony. Have you listened to this yet?
No.
It's so funny.
Are they our friends or just your friends?
Okay, our as in the royal me.
Okay.
It's a great show. They interview just people who have a unique experience or not so unique, and just ask them, like, what are the pet peeves that the rest of us have been doing to you to make your life yucky that you would like us to stop? So, for example, on the episode of a single mother, they talked with her about just all the things people say to her that are actually pretty thoughtless that you would never even realize. And I hadn't thought of some of these. Like, for example, people who do have partners when the partner's out of town saying, I'm a single mom this week, or I'm a single mom today. And their guest being like, yeah, actually you're not, because you know that you still have 2 incomes. And that's a real huge difference. Just stuff like that. Anyway, they've got like how to avoid being hated at the airport, how to avoid being hated at sporting events, just lots of different things. It's fantastic. It's a good show. You want to say thank you to anybody?
Thank you to the Pleasure Kills for the song Modern Problems.
Yes.
And thanks to our spouses and our children for putting up with us.
Yay. And thanks to our listeners who share our show with their friends. Appreciate that. So we are going to go away and we're going to make more episodes.
Oh, yeah. What's our next episode going to be about?
We're going to give up drinking all fluids except for water.
That is just so weird.
We're going to be so well hydrated.
Why did you record when you get done chewing?
It's okay. Julia will edit it out.
It makes it harder for Julie.
That's all right. I don't care.